Welcome everybody to Integrated Family Medicine of Asheville's event series. As Western North Carolina's first direct primary care medical practice, our mission is to provide accessible, high-quality healthcare that supports both individual and community health. Tonight's event is free and open to the public. My name is Ariana Figueroa, and I'm a health coach and facilitator at Integrated Family Medicine. And without any further ado, these beautiful humans. So right here we have Priya Lencion, a licensed clinical mental health counselor, licensed clinical addiction specialist, and certified peer support specialist. Priya has spent over 3 decades, come on in folks, there's water and then have a seat. Priya has spent over 3 decades on the front line with addiction and prevention, working as a school counselor, adolescent therapist, and drug educator. Fondly known as the drug lady here in our community, Priya regularly conducts drug and addiction education at schools across Buncombe County and provides training nationwide. As a parent, coach, speaker, and author, Priya's mission is to empower adults to become teen whisperers, helping to addiction-proof young people to an increasingly risky world. Her journey from self-described hot mess teen to lead, not my words, her words, to leading youth specialist brings both authenticity and deep insight to tonight's conversation. So please welcome Priya. And then this beautiful human, Beth Hockman, who holds a master's in experiential education and has devoted over 35 years to helping young people discover their strength and confidence. Beth's career spans 18 years with Outward Bound across the US and Africa. And in 2006, she co-founded Asheville Task, which stands for the American Adventure and Service Corps, a nonprofit that combines outdoor leadership and service learning. In 2016, inspired by her 2 twin daughters, she co-launched Girls Task, one of her greatest passions, guiding girls to break free from toxic societal narratives and embrace their authentic, adventurous selves. Beth is also a Love and Logic facilitator with 17 years of experience supporting families and educators, an adjunct faculty member for the Center for Creative Leadership, a TEDx speaker, and runs her own parent coaching business. Most importantly, she brings the perspective of a parent navigating these challenges alongside her twin daughters. I will add, all 3 of us are parents though. My son is 9, so I'm in the preparatory phase for this material. You have, your son is in his 20s?
27 and 2 bonus kids that are 21 and 19.
Yeah. And then your daughters are
15.
in the heart of it.
Yeah.
All right.
Driving. Driving.
Does driving and driving really go together?
Driving and driving.
All right, so we're going to dive in. Question number 1 for this evening. How can parents talk to their teens about AI chatbots and deepfakes in an effective way? And take it away.
Jump on that first. Okay. I was saying earlier to some folks that I like to approach it because this landscape changes so quickly, and that it's more of a framework and structure really to have any kind of conversation around these topics. But the first step is curiosity. And chances are you'll be learning a lot about the AI landscape along with your kid because it does change so much, but just showing up with curiosity and not judgment and asking a lot of those reflection questions. And in the realm of AI, looking at the benefits and risks together, because I was having a conversation with some folks where you all had a great story about how AI was like a third parent for you. These are folks in the audience. And I've used it anything from like planning a trip to, I've got these 5 items in the cupboard, help me make a recipe. So it does have some benefits to it, but helping our kids understand when is it beneficial and when is it risky behavior. So that would be the other step. And then using those reflection questions of, hey, I noticed that AIs are really flattering, right? They're sycophants. That's what they're supposed to do. Why do you think that is? And like, I'm not gonna lie, right? When I ask a question, I love it when ChatGPT says, sounds like you're a really good mom and focused on making a healthy meal. And I'm like, oh yeah, all the information I don't get from my husband. Yes, I am.
right?
Yeah.
You hear that?
ChatGPT's beating you in the words of affirmation. Love language. Which is what they're designed to do that,
They're
right?
really good at it.
They're really good at it. They're designed to do it, and that's where it gets dangerous.
Yeah.
Right? I'm a 57-year-old woman. They can be like, oh, that's fun. But a 14-year-old might be like, oh, I'm seen. I feel lonely. This person is complimenting me. I'm hooked. So asking those reflective questions and exploring that with your kids, modeling that critical thinking, right? Like deepfakes. Let's get on. Let's look at that video. Let's see. Is this really what's going on? How can we tell? And then focusing on the emotional literacy part with your kiddos regarding all of them. So we've got the chatbots, which is giving us the information, but there are the AI companions, and that is a generative AI technology whose job is to bond and enter into a relationship with the user. And again, the guy can be 57 and be like, okay, this is getting a little weird. But for a 14-year-old, they might not have that skill set and that emotional literacy. And so for me, a big part of what we're doing as parenting is also like educating and mentoring. And so if you take that, for me, if you take that approach as you're looking at the AI chatbot, deepfake AI companion landscape that's changing, you'll be able to use that every time something new comes out.
So kind of in some, and I don't want to interrupt you.
That's right. I just want to echo.
Go for it.
Yeah, I want to echo that because it's yes, that we don't know what's coming next. It's going to be something else. It's hard for us to stay on top of this. I had AI outline the issues with AI for me before I came here tonight.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
Right. So, but asking a question and keep in mind with all of these conversations, when Beth said, you know, your language was like, we talked to them about this, you know, but we want to start with questions. What do you know about, about this? Like, you know more than me, probably. What are you hearing is going on with AI? What do you imagine are some of the pros and the cons and the ways this could be used effectively? And what do you imagine some of the risks are? What are you hearing some of the risks are? Right? Like, what do you, when it talks, about companions, they will come up with, let them come up with that stuff before we, hammer in, because we want to be like, okay, I've seen it all. This is what's wrong. This is what you need to do. This is,
Kids love that.
Yeah, especially when they're 15.
So we ask them, we want to honor their intelligence and their wisdom and their maturity first, and then we can ask, well, what can't these chatbots do? What is different about this from a real person, a real friend, a real therapist? Like, let them solidify that for themselves.
Yeah.
Without us, because if we feed it to them, it's not going to stick the same way.
And I think the other thing, and this goes for all the topics that we're talking about, but I think as parents in our societal approach is like, I'm going to have that one big conversation. It's going to be great. There's going to be movie sound effects. Like, I'm going to grab my Oscar. It's so awesome. And that's not what's effective with kids. I always say, instead of the one, like, I was going to say an hour conversation, but sometimes those conversations go longer. It's 1,000 one-minute conversations. It's when you're dropping them off at school. It's when you're shopping at the grocery store. It's when you're playing basketball. That's a great time to just have these quick, I call them confetti conversations. Like, if you just imagine all this confetti.
Oh, drive-bys.
Yeah. Okay, different approaches. Confetti, shift, drive-by.
You're not looking at each other, right? You're not looking at each other. You're shooting
Back
baskets, you're walking
conversations,
the
drive
dog.
by. Exactly. But that's such an effective time to have these conversations, to ask these questions, to kind of model what we're talking about.
So
And quick questions. Quick questions to give your kids are: is it real? Because again, we've got all of these the deep fakes that are producing human form videos with humans doing things. I just saw one with MLK and another one with Elvis the other day, like hanging out, right?
Yeah.
But is it real? Who made it? Why they make it? And what impact might this have?
and what do they
Because
get
the
out of
things-
using it?
Right. So the prank, using the deepfake stuff for pranks has become a thing. Like, the trend of making it look like somebody's invading your house, or making it look like there's some hot chick at the house when there's really not, or making it like that. So being able to say, well, how might that to get somebody to freak out? How might that empathy build? How might that affect somebody to see that? So there's a fake voice or
It was
on
a
the
good
phone.
time. I'm going to start
Yeah.
keep moving us forward. But when I pulled out from that is not thinking about long conversations, big sit down moments, couch to couch, like leaning in, but more peppering it in, confetti, drive by, whatever you want to use. And then also encouraging them to think in a way where it's not
Critical
obvious
thinking
that you're
is
asking them to think.
Yeah.
But trying to appeal to the kind of the inner rebel of a teenager to really question what are other people getting out of this? What's going on here? What's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know we're moving on, but really
Yeah.
quick,
Mhm.
teenagers hate to be manipulated.
Yeah.
And if we,
Oh, we're
through
gonna
our
use that.
questions, if we can lead them, they need to see it. It needs to be internal. But if we can lead them to see that this is manipulation, it will land.
Yeah. Land better. So then we're gonna do a kind of 90-degree shift. And do we need something? Okay. If people need seats, you're welcome to come around up here and sit down. If you want. Yeah, of course.
We won't harass you in the front.
No, yeah.
We're harassing people with that.
Just confetti.
So fentanyl-laced drugs. We are going to kind of look a little bit at what we need to be aware of as parents in the community around just right now, how is fentanyl showing up? Let's start there.
Yeah. Well, I will say, let me put some good news on it, is that it is
Okay.
going down.
That's
Right,
amazing.
so fentanyl lacings around the country with all age groups for the most part, including in North Carolina, are going down, including in our.
That's the first time she said that.
I was like, oh my gosh, everyone listen, freak out with me. So that's the good news now. And even if there's only 10 overdoses, in the kind, when it's your kid, it doesn't matter what the statistics are, right? So, but it is still happening. And so the very short version is that there is illicit fentanyl. Fentanyl is about, 50 times stronger than the average dose of heroin. Most people have heard about this by now. It fits on the tip of a pencil, the amount that it would take to kill most of us that don't have a tolerance.
I think that's worth
to an
repeating
opioid.
to just slow down. So the amount that would fit on the tip of a pencil is enough to kill.
It's like
a speck.
7 grains of salt worth
Yeah.
can kill the average person.
And that's part of the problem because you don't see that in another substance
And-
where it's been laced.
And now we have nitazines, which are 40 times stronger than fentanyl. We have xylazine, which they're calling the zombie drug, which is being put into things to extend the high, and it is incredibly cheap, also illegal. It's a tranquilizer.
Repeat the name.
Xylazine and nitazine.
Xylazine.
And those are getting into things as well. And xylazine and nitazines can be activated in a vape, by the way. They are finding them in vapes even. But so pills, lots of pills and powders, and ones that are, so yes, illegal drugs like cocaine and meth and ketamine and those things are in powder form. But pills that kids think of as, oh, these were made by people in lab coats and in hygienic labs, right, that are FDA approved. Xanax, Percocet, Oxycontin, Adderall are being pressed to look just like the real thing. And that is often what is, when a kid buys something on Snapchat or on an app, which is where most drug dealing happens now. It's not like the guy, leaning against the chain link fence when they're walking home from school. And like, hey, skit, you want some drugs? No.
With the car full of
It's
puppies.
online.
Oh my God. Let's see my
Lollipops.
All right, let's bring it back.
So a lot of the dealing is happening online, and if it doesn't come out of a pill, a actual container prescribed to someone that it can be laced. And so about 85% of youth overdoses are coming from these laced fake counterfeit pills.
Counterfeit pills that look
And
like
things.
prescribed pills.
Yes.
80% of overdoses are coming from those.
Yeah.
How
It's
how
so-
common is it in the community right now? With teens.
I am not. I will say I'm not totally sure. I cast the net for data from our local community.
And that was not a
didn't get it.
scripted question. I just added it.
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head
That's
how
fair.
many it has been. I know that I have lost. I worked at a charter school in town with really well supported kids, and I have now lost 7 children from that community within the last 5 years.
No.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, and 3 of them were from fentanyl-laced pills. So just a Xanax that happened to have
And one is too many.
fentanyl in it.
I mean, right.
And he was just like, I got something stressful going on the next day. Let me go to a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend and take this one Xanax to go to sleep and get this off my mind. And he did not wake up. And I'm sorry if you know who I'm talking about, because it's a well-known community and family. So it is happening, and it's devastating when it is. So kids need to know there are testing strips that you can now, unfortunately, because of the opioid overdose crisis, how much it blew up. And we had within a 2-year period of time, 114% increase in fatal youth overdoses between 19 and 2021. And so the good news is it's gone down a little bit.
So then maybe
but still
we could
happening.
Segue.
Yeah.
So test strips are something that would be important. Maybe to
Test
talk
strips they need. So test strips, but it's also like chocolate chip cookie effect. It's not guaranteed. They can test a part of a pill or test a part of a powder supply or something, and it because it's so little, they don't catch, the part that has the fentanyl in it. So it's not guaranteed. Better to test than not. But and then Narcan, which is an opioid reversal medication, and you all that are here, I've got
There's
free
some
ones on the
Narcan
table.
over there.
But you can get them at the health department for free. And most health departments all over the country, because we've got people tuning in from all over the world actually right now.
Welcome, world.
But that you get from the health department, you can get them from any pharmacies.
Yep.
They're about $45 a piece in this community. But it's really crucial that by the time your kids hit high school and they start to socialize off your watch, that they have that on them, even if it's not for them. It's to help someone else, because 2/3 of youth overdoses have had witnesses and nobody did anything. They did not know what to do.
Overdoses had witnesses. But the witnesses didn't know what to do.
And that includes parents. They either their parents or their friends or the school staff did not have Narcan, did not know what to do. So they need to know that we have this Good Samaritan law in North Carolina that's in most. If you have college students, they're in other states, that if they get help, even if for a friend, even if they're doing an illegal drug or they drank underage or they themselves are under the influence of something, that they can get someone help, roll them into the ER, call 911, and they are not going to get legal charges for that unless if your child gets a pill from somebody, passes it to somebody else, if they are the one that handed the pill to somebody that has devastating consequences. Teenagers are getting murder charges in North Carolina because they are the passer of pills or the dealer of things. So that's, where we're at with lacings are real. They are a real thing right now.
So then just circle back real quick. Anything else parents should know about Narcan? We now know where to get it. Pharmacies, health
you
department.
can't go wrong with it. So I've had kids use it in the middle of the school day at our local high schools. And when it happened to be another drug, and it didn't hurt that person. It was a Xanax they overdosed on, not a opioid. If it's not an opioid, it will reverse an opioid. But unfortunately, because there's other things being put into these drugs too, like it's not going to reverse xylazine, but it will. But it will a kid might get a headache, but it's not going to hurt them if they. If they are overdosing on something different.
Anything to do as a parent or a bystander when it comes to xylazine or the other one that you mentioned, the nitrate?
You want to put, if you come across someone or it's your child, you put them on their side, so they don't asphyxiate on their vomit. But what's really important is we have these conversations with our kids.
Yeah.
What do you know about lacings? What are you hearing? When I go to high school classrooms, including our top private schools in the area, in every single classroom, someone knows somebody that's overdosed. Someone in their
Is that surprising
either
to
a
anybody
peer
else?
or a
That feels
family
shocking,
member.
'cause that feels shocking.
It's very right. They know people that have overdosed now. So being able to talk about, what do you know about the signs of overdose? Changes in skin color, changes in heart rate,
I was going to say, what are the signs of
decreasing
overdose?
heart rate, flushed skin, pale skin, blue skin, that breathing getting shallow, right? Like not being able, if you poke them and smack them and there's no signs of, of not just life, but they're not responding, no response, then worry about them.
Okay.
And you can't, and that can be, because it can be alcohol too, right? That you want to get them help and you won't get in trouble for getting that help. But I have sat with those kids and counseled those kids who did not do anything. Yeah. And that you don't want your child to be that kid. that carries that with the rest, for the rest of their life.
Which is a trauma.
Yeah,
We need
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So what are the signs? What do you do?
Yeah.
Making sure that they're equipped for that.
So for folks who came in a little late, I'm going to offer just a really brief recap of where we've come so far. We started off in the conversation talking about, how do you even approach these conversations with kids as parents? And what we were told by these beautiful humans is, let's think about sprinkling the questions in, not about like having one big pivotal conversation. Instead, this is an ongoing dialogue that should be happening, and to focus on questioning, not from a place of manipulation or like, what do you know, but truly trying to explore with kids, what are you noticing? What would be the benefits of a chatbot or an AI deepfake, praising you for being really smart or really empathetic or kind? How does that benefit the people who created the AI chatbot? Or when it comes to drugs, what's happening in your class community? Like, what do you know about? If we can appeal to the fact that the teenage brain doesn't like to be manipulated, and we can use that not in a manipulative way, but in a supportive parenting way, for them to begin thinking critically for themselves, that's the way to approach it. Does that sound like a fair recap up to this point?
Yeah.
Not mentioning specifics around overdosing and et cetera, but
Yeah, because it's going to apply to all of it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Beth said,
And so
applies
next.
It's a model.
it applies to all of it.
So just to kind of give an overview of where we're headed and why I'm kind of like moving us along at a bit of a pace, we're going to go over THC concentrates, we're going to go over mental health effects from high potency THC, what we need to know about vape strength and marketing, edibles, so that kind of section of the conversation. We're going to look at social media algorithms. We're up in Georgia and sometimes it pops out. Algorithms and screen time. We're gonna then kind of towards the end circle back around again and reiterate, how do we have these conversations with teens, because I don't think we can talk about that enough. The data and the statistics are scary, and we want to help our teens so much, right? And so again, we'll try and close on that. I'll try and make sure there's 5 minutes for questions, and then we'll talk about how you can contact these people or get more information about how they work in the world. Yeah? All right, so
Sounds good.
THC concentrates and vapes, let's dive in. Today's THC concentrates can be 90% or more in potency. How does that compare to marijuana or cannabis from even 5 years ago?
So when you look at, in the 70s, it was 1%. 1%. 0.5 to 1%. That's the plant as it originally, however you believe it got here, was on the planet. So even it's been modified. In our legal states, it's up to the 30s, right?
Yeah.
And so even when kids are like, it's natural, like, yeah, no, bro, it's not. It has been so mutated that even the plant is not natural.
Yeah,
Right.
been selected over and over for
Right.
a higher THC concentration
Yeah.
to go from 1% to 90%.
And that has crept up. So, if any of us were using in the 80s or the 90s, it was still 5%, 8%, THC, the plant. So now the average is 20 just in this community. But when we're talking about concentrate, so that is when kids are vaping something, when it is a liquid that they are vaping, when it is what they call a dab or wax, that is a small amount of, can look like honey, molasses, butter, wax, and it is put in some kind of object and vaporized, right? So some kind of a pen, vaping device, a big thing. They have these things called rigs that look a little bit like little bongs, but you heat it up and it
Is everybody
vaporizes.
following the vocabulary? Or I have a 9-year-old, so this is like, I'm not taking notes.
Just bringing a pen and a
If you need anything repeated,
If your kid has a blowtorch, they're not making flambé in their room. Noted.
Alright.
But that, so
Dab wax.
dab,
honey,
wax,
molasses.
and the liquid THCs. That those things, like you said, they start in the 50th percentile of THC, and tetrahydrocannabinol being the psychoactive ingredient in cannabis, right, which creates kind of the high. So, but one of the problems is that when it is being chemically extracted from the plant and then mutated, and it doesn't have any of the other cannabinoids that are in the plant that balance it out.
Like CBD.
Is it CBD and other ones? But even in the plant, it's gotten out of whack, so that that the balance has been like amping up the THC with not enough balance of CBD, right? But in the concentrates, that's all it is. That's all it is. And so there is. That's why for generations we haven't had people kind of go crazy or get sick unless they had a predisposition to a psychosis, to a psychotic disorder. But now we are watching very different reactions happen
So what do you
to
see?
these products. So we are seeing, and one thing is mental health impacts that are, so it's called greening out of having an overdose. So you can now have a non-lethal but overdose of THC products of having too much too fast. And again, body and brain are not designed in any way. We have cannabinoid receptors in our gut, in our brain, so they fit in, and but not the quantity that's coming in, that load. So and keep in mind also, when it's being vaped, it has all the crud in there that we don't know what it is. We don't know what happens when you heat up and inhale. And we saw vitamin E, which was being put in those products, causing pneumonia and killing people from these diseases, because it turns out when you heat up vitamin E, it turns into a poison, and we didn't know that. So who knows what heating up the rest of the things that are in a vape, right? Okay, so the mental health impacts, though, are that depression is one. So it makes more sense that our kids who are struggling already with depression or anxiety or overwhelm, or that they're more likely to use, or more likely to develop a use disorder, or an addiction. But we're watching it not only worsen those, but cause depression, because there's a part in the brain where we have on, wonder, and everyday things. And it is that part that, like, it's really very alive in babies, right? But that it's being overactivated, right? And every drug does what it does because it overactivates some feel-good chemicals in a reward center of the brain, right? So when you overactivate the part of the brain that produces a pleasure and enjoyment in everyday experiences, what happens is two things: boredom. A kid starts to experience boredom, and then it's like, oh, well, now I got to get high to enjoy something, to enjoy the movie, to enjoy being with my friends, and then depression. The definition of not having joy and pleasure in everyday experiences is that. So kids right now, so depression is one thing, and then it's really being interwoven with an increase in suicidal ideation. We have young adults in particular, the highest rates of use are like 18 to like our college age students, where there's the highest rates of addiction, highest rates of use that we have ever seen. And depression, cannabis-induced depression, but psychosis is one of the hugest concerns, is that the greening out experience, having the toxic amounts where a kid can be unconscious, projectile vomiting, extreme stomach pains, disoriented, or having like a psychotic break, not knowing what's happening with them. ERs are exploding with young people having these greening out experiences. Every kid, again, when I ask a high school room, multiple hands go up. Everybody knows people that have had these. Every single one of our high schools so far in the area have had ambulances on campus already for medical emergencies from THC overdoses this year.
And my
already.
My understanding of
Yes.
the psychosis, it's not like it can take a while to, like, days. Am I remembering
kick in?
To go away.
Oh, to go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
remember
And unfortunately, when a kid has one, they're more likely to have two.
Yes.
And after they've had a couple, they're extremely likely to develop more of a disorder. So kids that are using regularly THC right now are 11 times more likely to develop a psychotic disorder than kids who are not. So never mind the ones that have predisposition, but we're seeing kids without it develop them. And so there's stories like, look up Johnny Stack, for example, if you want a story for your kids of just like, the kid with everything going for them that started to vape and started having delusions, and then eventually took his life, unfortunately, and wrote in his final note, this is because of the concentrates, I'm never going to get my brain back. They tried every kind of treatment. And I've now I have sat in rooms of parents at the conference for parents of cannabis-induced psychosis.
Wow.
It has become such a thing that they're creating communities around it. So I can't say enough, and you don't know me enough to know, some of you do, but I am actually not over dramatic.
You're passionate, but not over
I'm passionate. I mean, I unfortunately I talk to these people every day that are having it's a real thing.
So I'm wondering, just because of the flow so far, if it would
Yeah.
make sense to insert some, like, okay, what is a specific example of how you would approach your team about this topic? Because with my not experience of parenting a teen, because my kid's 9, but from remembering being a teen a really long time ago, if a parent comes at me with fear about something, there's kind of a knee-jerk, like, okay, mom,
Right.
reaction,
Yeah.
How do you not activate the okay parent?
Yeah, like
But
back off of that
also
vibe.
explore how
incredibly, I mean, this is life.
It is scary.
It's very scary.
Yeah.
It's hard not to have the amygdala
Yeah.
start the conversation.
And your amygdala expertise.
Yeah.
And like, what would be an example?
Well, I think that's the hardest thing for us to do as parents, because as we know in the brain, the amygdala is our stress response, and it's fight, flight, freeze. I mean, there's others, tend, befriend. And so to go into a conversation like that where you are, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm like,
I know.
scary stuff. But the first thing we have to do is turn down the shark music, right? The dud, like we have to turn off the shark music, take a deep breath, not go, we have a strong negativity bias. Our brains are wired for cave survival. And if we didn't see everything outside the cave is dangerous, we wouldn't have survived. So check our negativity bias because it's super strong. Turn down the shark music, and then kind of that model that we were talking about, even with AI companions and chatbots, is and come into it curious and come into it with those questions saying, hey, I just read this article and these are the things they were saying. What do you know about it? And open that up so that it's more of this collaboration, learning together. And the whole time you got to be telling your amygdala, just calm down.
Remember, calm, care, curious,
It's not Shark
collaboration.
Week.
Yes, exactly. Like,
Curious
don't
collaboration.
freak out. We're
Yeah.
doing well.
Calm, curious,
Calm, care, curious, and
Collaboration.
Yes.
And what I hear in the language you just used also is a appeal to the expertise of that team, which I think it's something to underline. I feel like that there's a subtext here that we don't know what it's like to be a teenager right now, and it is radically different from. I mean, I'm 40. I was a teen a while ago. Like, I don't know what it's like to do that. Our teens are going through and seeing their peers experience psychosis, ambulances coming to the schools, overdoses are like within their frame of reference, and so just appealing to that knowledge and understanding that they
And you
have.
always want to leave it with them, with like, I'm here if you want to talk. Like, you can call me at any time. At that moment, there's not going to be a conversation. It's not to say you don't have a conversation, but like your phone call can come in, no questions asked, I'm there. Because we want, and this is so important to me in the work I do, but our greatest, in my opinion, underutilized parenting technique we have is connection. Connection over correction, connection. It's everything. We are wired to be, to belong, to have relations, and kids more so. They're good to the teen brain more so. And so if we can connect with our kids and they can see that we're on their team and that we're there and we can answer the question, because if our kid's out there standing over that other friend, we want them to be like, I'm going to call my mom, she'll know what to do. We don't want them to say, oh crap, I can't call my parents, they can't find out about this. We want them to be able to say, I'm going to call her right now. And that comes from connection. That comes from how we approach all these conversations with them.
Curious, caring, collaborative.
Yeah.
Shark music down.
Turn it off.
Yes.
Turn it off.
Okay.
Yeah, hard to do.
So then, also to kind of loop back around, the general sense, my impression is that teens feel like vaping is kind of safer, or is more okay.
Compared to
some other options.
like cigarettes.
Yes.
For sure.
And so
The good news is vaping is going down too.
okay,
So we
that's nice.
we believe, it appears. I mean, there's education is happening in schools. Kids are actually experiencing. They're like, oh, I'm not running the same on the soccer field. Or my friend is crazy. Like, he doesn't have his vape from it. He's got to go all through class. Like, they're seeing consequences and experiencing them enough.
Okay.
And like you were saying, that they didn't mean that the many kids that have gotten addicted to nicotine, because the stat is half of middle schoolers who try it in any form, nicotine, and a third of high schoolers are likely to get addicted. It is the most addictive drug on the planet that hijacks the brain like nothing else. They are pissed that they got addicted.
Yeah.
They didn't mean to be controlled by this, right?
Yeah.
So the word is out, and all the anti-vaping campaigns got out there. Unfortunately, they were, slower than all the, the pro-use messaging. But what's shifting now is the pouches. The pouches are kind of starting to take over.
What's a
FYI.
pouch?
The nicotine pouches.
What?
So I'm so glad I'm here.
Does anybody else know about nicotine pouches?
Okay. My kids in the room. You know what that is, right?
What is a nicotine pouch?
Yeah. So, so nicotine pouches, they are like Zins, you know, are the leading brand that started off. There's a bunch of different ones. They come in round things, and so it looks like mints or gum in these round things. It's, you know, there's 15 in each. They're like $3 to $5, so it's super cheap. And each one of these pouches is unlike chewing tobacco, like you put it under the lip or like upper decky, lower decky, it's the language. And you and it dissolves within about a half an hour, and it puts high octane and really easily absorbable nicotine into the bloodstream.
Which subtext much more addictive.
Which exactly.
If it's more
exactly.
easily
So kids will be the misperception is that, oh well, this is, at least I'm not vaping, which vaping did with cigarettes. Like, at least you're not, you know, it's not 200 cancer causing chemicals, right? So
it's an unknown quantity.
now they're like, okay, well, let me manage my vaping, my nicotine addiction while I'm on Grown Up Watch, for one. Or some kids really are intending to come down off of it, but not realizing that, oh, when you're dosing yourself all day long, you're really feeding that addiction instead of coming off of it. But I'm watching it be an on-ramp. Is that kids are starting with it that would have never, that are not interested in vaping. You know, I'm an athlete. I'm not going to put that stuff in my lungs, but I'll, you know, put this in my lip and nobody notices. And unfortunately, it is.
Then you get really
then there's the addiction, and they are preying the same way that vaping is preying. So I can't. I gotta just give a mention. Yeah,
companies are preying on.
Right. Is it the newest generation of vapes, by the way? You know, like the last time we spoke a couple of years ago, it was like, oh, they can come in like key fobs and lipsticks and highlighters and, you know, like, but now it is the preying directly on young people. I mean, directly. Like, they hire the psychologists to come in, and how do we get these kids addicted, right? So they play Pac-Man and Tetris. They pair with the phone. They're Bluetooth speakers. You watch your Tamagotchi pet during the day, and the way you keep it alive is by hitting your vape. You rack up points. We're a point competition by hitting your vape, and then redeem them for swag. Wow. And Chris Brown's got a set that are like, there's like collector's cards that are cartoons. This is the newest generation.
Okay, so we have to segue to edibles because of time, but wow.
Yes.
Wow. And finish that thought, and then we'll segue to edibles because I see your face.
Well, no, it's the how to have the conversation with them part. But we can have that afterwards.
Yeah, we're going to keep coming back to that over and over again.
Talk about how to talk about that, because we want to disempower all of that and get them mad enough to fight the power.
We want to show them how the sausage is made. Pull back the screen and be like, this and with it about.
Which I have to think, if the future were to find out that a product, like there's psychologists coming in to figure out how to gamify vape usage, then because they know the neurology of adolescents is that their brains are super malleable. They are wired for habit forming and addiction, and they are hardwiring everything that they're exposed to right now like no other time.
And the adolescent brain has a dip in dopamine production. Right. And again, that's cave time brain, right? Like, if you need a dip of dopamine to be like, oh, I guess I'll leave this safe, cozy cave and look for the scary woolly mammoth.
Right.
So the adolescent brain has a dip in dopamine. So it is seeking activities that will give it a dopamine hit. Enter, and then it drops
up extra big when it does go off, right? Which anything with a stimulant in it in particular amplifies.
Because we're already here, how would you approach that conversation with kids?
Yeah, so it is like, hey, what do you think the agenda is of these companies? Okay. Is it world peace, environmental wellness, youth mental health,
empowering you?
Yeah. No, they know, like, oh, it's making mad money. Okay, so what's a good strategy? What do you know about their strategies? What do you notice about this advertising? Yeah. Kids all on their own, they're smart enough to come with like, oh, especially if they know about the brain. They want to target kids because kids are more wired for addiction, because if they get lifetime consumers of their products, they're making more money. So they are making this stuff for us and marketing it to us with our language and our values and our images and the things that are interesting to us. Yeah. So, but you want to ask those questions about, like, what do you notice? Okay. What do you know about the agendas? What do you know about the algorithms, of some of this advertising that you see? What do you not, just in case you get this question, by the way, because I get this all the time. Kids will be like, yeah, but look at, like, because we're talking about THC vaping as well. Because THC vaping, by the way, is going up and up and up. So less and less kids
Finish
are.
this thought and then we'll go to
But
edibles.
when we're talking about vaping,
Mhm.
nicotine vaping is going down, THC's vaping is going up,
Wow.
right? But that asking them like, because the kid will be like, oh, but look, because the influencers, the TikTok people, Snoop, whoever, like they are online advertising,
Mhm.
advertising these products, right? In the spaces that kids are, that kids are tuned in on. So they will say, oh, but look at this person. They're like making mad money and they seem to be like really happy and they're all good. Snoop's making billions and he's, look at him. And I'm like, what do you not know about Snoop Dogg? What do you not know about like how he functions? How he feels about himself? Like, what is it like to date him or be his kid? We don't know a lot about. Like, if they were having problems with their use, would they be advertising that on TikTok? Like, what do you not know? So that's just in case you
Okay.
get that argument.
So what do you know and what do you not know?
Yeah.
But again, coming in with
And what do you
from a place of
notice?
humility, curiosity,
Yeah.
and questioning the motives
Yes.
behind the companies that are doing
And the
crop-
hypocrisy.
and the hypocrisy.
Hypocrisy is really key because, like, what are they telling you? What are these companies telling you that whether it's the caffeine or the nicotine or the THC stuff, like, what are they telling you you're going to get from their products?
Okay.
Like happiness, beauty, ripped abs.
You basically deconstruct it with it, but you do it in a
Is
Socratic
that
way.
true? Is
Because
that
if
true?
you're telling them like this is what they're doing to you,
Right.
That they turn out.
they're like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's that, like, is that true? Like, now you know that what THC does to mood and nicotine damages serotonin in the production in the
Yeah.
brain, by the way, for teenagers, like damages the part of the brain that produces serotonin.
Which
So
is
that means that they are more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and overwhelming stress into adulthood with adolescent nicotine users.
I hope this isn't just
So-
so, but I have to repeat that. Nicotine damages the teenage brain.
Serotonin
The
production, yeah.
serotonin
Which is
production,
the
in this-
mood chemical neurotransmitter. in the
which predisposes them to anxiety, depression,
Yes.
and mood
Yes.
disorders.
So when that ad of the happy people,
Yeah.
vaping, to when you ask them like, well, what does it tell you it's going to do for you, and is that true? And they go, no, and then they get mad.
Yeah.
It's awesome, right? It's
We
awesome.
want them to be mad, not at us, but
No,
at
that they're being conned,
Right,
manipulated,
yeah.
controlled, and that
All right.
that we have hypocrisy.
Please speak to what edibles we need to be aware of.
Edibles. So I think the bottom line with edibles, the short version is that, horrible design that they're being put into all of this candy and drinks and foods and that seem really harmless.
Mhm.
But what is happening is that it's really easy. A lot of those ER admissions and the toxic overdoses on THC are happening from edibles as well,
Mhm.
because it's so hard to tell what they are, right? We had an area high school that had an incident with just the Rice Krispie treat batch that was infused with THC, got around campus. One kid crashed their car on the way home. One kid fell down the stairs. One kid projectile vomited everywhere. All from this one batch several years ago. But
Wow.
so they don't know, if they don't know what's in it,
Yeah.
that it can be
That.
it can be overdose, and by the time it hits the body, and it takes about a half an hour to digest, and then they get the high from it. Meanwhile, they've eaten way more, right? So it's important to know, and depending upon the age of your kid, but that harm reduction conversation, like what's too much,
Yeah.
about these, that's a whole other topic.
And being
but
skeptical about
being skeptical about things,
everything.
because kids will, yes, they will prank each other
Yeah.
with THC edibles. I mean, I'm hearing about it happening all of the time.
Huh.
So especially in college, unfortunately. But so just knowing that, and we're seeing them. We don't know why. I think it's because it's absorbed differently too, right? Again, like when something is vaped or smoked, half of the
Yeah.
drug, kind of goes out into the air.
Yeah.
When it's an edible, it is all absorbed into the body.
Yep.
So we are seeing psychotic stuff that I want y'all to sleep. But I've gone to these conferences. I've gone to these
Which you're
conferences
not.
where they're talking about. I mean, these are people
We're
with
sleeping anyway.
with no predisposition and that are like perfectly lovely young adults and
Mhm.
humans that are like killing themselves and murdering other people and doing horrific things because they don't know why they took the edibles that they took snapped something for them.
Yeah.
So, and again, they didn't know how much they were taking. So when a kid takes a handful of gummy bears, even if it's legal in another state and it's said, on the package it says, better that it be regulated in some way and the dose is on something, but the 10 milligrams might be the head of the gummy bear that is the dose, not the whole, it's not the whole bag.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So, and who has one gummy bear and walks away? Who's that freak? Right? So, know that it can go wrong.
So skepticism, critical thinking, Socratic questioning, and really trying to do some psychoeducation about the teenage brain and what's happening to the teenage brain when we're getting exposed to these substances at this time and this age, dosage, etc. I'm going to transition us only because of time, and if we have time, let's.
Can I ask one question?
Well, we have still need to go through social media algorithms.
It's one.
Okay.
Is the one question you want to ask them?
Okay.
You do want to ask like, what are your guidelines for yourself? What are your limitations? What are the lines you refuse to cross?
Yeah.
What do you know about how to stay healthy if you were to choose to use? What do you know about what's beneficial about not going there?
It's like a Charles Dickens question.
Yeah. So
important.
you want to again make sure that they are thinking about and establishing. This is before they go to high school, before they go to college.
Middle school, even before.
Absolutely.
Like you're talking about middle school.
Yeah.
So like in elementary school, like when do you recommend these conversations? I mean, I think
you ask them what they are hearing about, for one.
And
But keep in mind that our kids, whether they're talking about it or not, they are driving down Patton Avenue and seeing the vape shops.
Yeah.
They're seeing the Super Bowl ads. They're seeing drugs and alcohol everywhere. And so they're wiring meaning about them and decisions about them without us if we don't get in there and open up conversations and help them make healthy meaning of it.
So finding age-appropriate ways to begin having conversations where you're asking, what is important to you about how you feel in your body? What are your limits? If somebody else is doing something, I don't know. Now it starts to sound like the 1990s kind of dare question.
But you want to ask, how do you feel and how do you think of what do you think about this? How do you feel about it? And what decisions, like again, what are the commitments that you have to yourself about this, and how are you going to uphold those? Like you want to be able to have those conversations, because we know that the more that kids think about that, the more likely they are to follow through on it. And the more it's an open dialogue, the more available you are to help guide them through those things when they're confused about it, and the more likely they are, like Beth said, to come to you with okay, I ran across this, or I'm confused about this, and be like, okay, let's talk you through it.
And in case it wasn't obvious, maybe on the surface, every one of those questions was open-ended. So they're not questions of setting up a scenario and then saying, do you do X or Y?
Yeah.
It's a what do you do in this situation?
Are kids reading out at your school?
Because those open-ended questions are going to be what encourages the thinking and the conversation and the exploration cognitively, which then means that they're making connections in their brain about this, which is what you're saying is important, and we all know. Okay.
Yes.
I always would tell my girls at a young age, I would say, you are more than welcome to try anything you want when you're 24. And they were like, okay. Like they were little, they'd be like, I can try anything I want when I'm 24. They felt like ages did. I'm like, because then you have a prefrontal cortex, you're less likely to be addicted. Mom says we can try anything when we're 24. So it's never too late to start.
Okay, I'll start that.
And they're 15 and it's all good.
That's great.
Yeah. The longer they get, the better.
So social media algorithms. How are social media algorithms specifically engineered to be addictive, especially for developing brains? Who wants to lead with this? Right.
Yeah, I can start that one. The one statistic I like to go, I was sharing that with Mariana in the beginning, is in 2022, $11 billion was earned by social media platforms in advertising revenue for kids under the age of 18. So there is an investment in the social media companies to hook our kids and to hook us, right? Like I think the whole time we talk about this, for me, when I'm talking about my kids, and I think that's a really powerful thing, is it's not just the kids, right? Like mom's had some issues with Pinterest.
Humans are all having issues.
Yeah. So I always preface that with them. But with the adolescent brain, like I was talking about, there is this dip in dopamine, and there is this wiring. Again, it goes back to the cave. Our brains are still left from cave time. In order to be successful outside the cave, what did we need? We needed friends. So you're going to have a much better chance to hunt that woolly mammoth if you got a group of people. So their brains at this time, and that's when they were leaving the cave, is wired for dopamine activities. They're going to hit the dopamine for creating friendships. So that also includes sensitivity to peer feedback. And so what are the algorithm? They're basically creating customized slot machines. So anytime, like the algorithms are watching, or you stay too long in here, or you react to this, they're feeding that in to their algorithm, and they're creating this slot machine. How do slot machines work? Why are they addictive? Because there's an intermittent reward system to it. So in our dopamine brain not only likes the pleasure, they likes the anticipation. So dopamine as a neurotransmitter, we think of it as like, I think in the general term, we think of it as like, oh, it's the pleasure neurotransmitter. Well, it's also the motivating, and it gets a lot of its power from the anticipation. So they will be on their screens, and it'll be like, oh, I got a lot. Right. The dopamine. I got nothing.
Something's coming though.
Nothing coming. Right, so it's like a customized slot machine that they have created. So the algorithm works on that dopamine and reward system. It also works on the social sensitivity that emerges with the adolescent brain. So that desire for belonging, that desire for friend, and the adolescent brain feels the friendship gain and loss greater than the adult brain or the younger brain. I mean, you can see little kids are like, oh, we're not friends anymore. They're like, oh. That 14-year-old's like,
I like this over.
Yeah, which just tracks with the brain. That's just what's happened with the brain. And then the design, right? They have the designs, like the bright colors, or, that's
It's really
speaking to our dopamine. And then like, I'm not really a social media person. I think I know myself too well. I'm like, just don't.
Yeah.
But like the reels and things like that, there's no stop point. There's nowhere for your brain to say, now we disengage. So also looking at the apps and how they're tapping into it, I would say are the three big.
So then when you kind of like extrapolate that over to why it's so hard for teens to put their phones down, it sounds like it's partially that, but obviously it's much more. It's my impression. Can you speak to kind of this struggle around asking teens to not engage with the phone 24/7?
Yeah.
Do you want to go with that?
Go ahead.
Okay.
They're portable dopamine pumps.
Yeah.
That's what they are.
Slot
There it
machines.
Yes.
Yeah.
But go ahead. Start off. I definitely.
Well, I think what it is it's difficult for them because the screens are meeting their heightened biological need for social interaction. It's really important for teens to have that. I'm 57, right? So in the 80s, we were like big hair, great music, bright colors in someone's basement. Like that's where we were getting our social interaction. So it meets that. It also is creating the unpredictable rewards is the quickest way to create a habit loop. And so that is what's happening with them.
Yeah.
And then all the apps, like I said, are engineered by behavioral scientists to tap into that.
To be addictive. Yeah.
So
Right.
what platforms are, because of time?
Yeah.
I'm gonna, and then we have to go back. Okay. So what platforms or features are particularly concerning this year in this moment? Not that the two of you are, this isn't your wheelhouse. We're kind of like pushing out a little bit.
The way I look at it, and I talk to my coaching clients about it, is versus like specific, it's kind of, to me, it's like any platform that has infinite feeds and autoplay, any platform that has beauty filters, that has edited reality, any platform that has private DMs and group chats. So my husband's South African, his family is all over in South Africa. We live with WhatsApp.
Yeah.
We love it. That thing is the best app ever. And also it's encrypted and it's private. And that's where a lot of the bullying and abuse can happen. So for me to say specifically, stay off of this one, it's more of this like bigger picture, keep these things in mind. Any app that's really focused on rewards and digital validation, to me,
It's all of them.
Yeah.
Like, right?
kind of is. My girls are not on social media.
Yeah.
And I would say the fast, right, is that the attention span, they're showing that all of our attention spans are shrinking, by the way,
Yeah.
as related to screens. But
47
but the
seconds.
attention-
Sorry, I just read recently our
Less
attention
than
span is 47
Which I actually feel like
seconds.
it's kind of
it's
generous.
even less than that.
Yeah.
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 I heard that goldfish are actually have longer attention spans than we do now.
Yeah.
But that but where it went from like a kid, it finds it way less tolerable to watch a 2-hour movie now, than before. And then it was like, okay, we've got Instagram, videos or YouTube videos that are 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
And now it's like,
YouTube Shorts.
The shorts and the fast feeds, and that what they, interestingly, when they show that kids they're streaming, they're getting those dopamine pumps. The more that they do that, they actually feel less happy, less satisfied. Despite the fact that it's pumping the reward chemical and motivation. And what you're saying about belonging is that kids that are on, the more they're on, the more lonely they report feeling. Right? It's not actually working.
Yeah. So because of time, we've got a few minutes left, 3 minutes left. I know. It's just like the time goes really fast with you two. Y'all are you're amazing. So do you have maybe one statement you want to make about what parents can do when they feel like they've lost control of screen time? We'll end on that question, and then we'll open the floor for 1 or 2 questions from the audience if there's any. But what do you think?
I think with the clients, because I also, in addition to my wilderness stuff, do parent coaching, and I get this one all the time.
And she's amazing at parent coaching. I'm sorry.
You're sweet. Thank you.
Well, you've helped our family a lot.
I get this, like, it's too late. It's too late. We've lost it. So the thing I would say is it's never too late.
Okay.
You can always reframe, and the best way to do it is a family unit, because chances are if your kiddo needs to reframe, you'll need to reframe. And I will use that as a personal example. I noticed in the summer, right, things can drop. We're all going to bed with our phones and and so now we've got our basket back and phones go in there before bedtime. So it's never too late. When you approach it, you want to approach it like, you want to think mindset, not device, right? So let's just look at how we want to be as a family. Mm-hmm. You want to clarify that why. You want to ask them questions I'll say, gosh, I noticed I was on Pinterest a little too much. I think it's great when you're role modeling that and then come together as a family, have it as a collaborative conversation. What are limits we want to see? And then this to me is a really important piece, refill the well. And what I mean by that is, okay, we're asking our kiddos and ourselves to be off devices. Let's refill that time with basketball, a hike, a board game, whatever it might be. Hey, let's go just stop over at our friend's house and say hi. Refill that. Because the worst is to be like, it's not too late. We're doing all these things. I'm doing exactly what Beth said. And now we're all sitting here. Okay, forget it. Everyone gets back on their phones. You know what I mean? So instead be like, okay, so what should we do, right? Let's go to this thing. So refill the well.
Which is a slower way of meeting the dopamine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and obviously me coming from a wilderness background, I feel like that's a big service that we're providing is we get those kids out there and they climbing, rappelling, paddling whitewater, all of that is, there are healthy ways to meet that dopamine need, and how can you support your kids in meeting their dopamine need, not dismissing it, but in a healthy way. And there's so many ways, performing on stage,
Yeah, totally.
Any last thought?
Yeah, our kids have a natural need for psychosocial needs for connection, coping, confidence and identity, and fun.
Yeah.
And so if we help them identify, have ways that they can access that work for them to meet those needs, so there's not a hole in any of those areas, right? Then screens won't fit in them, drugs won't fit in them. You know what I mean? Then if they do get on screens, they'll be like, yeah, but I don't feel as good when I'm on screens as when I do these other things that meet this need for me, right? So, but if their kid's got a deficit and something works better than anything else, they're going to over-attach to it, whether it's gambling or shopping or drugs or screens, right? So meeting those needs, modeling, I think the agreements is a really crucial piece. And this is the same thing, again, with drugs too. You have the conversations about, all right, what are our family norms, our family rules and culture that we want to have around these things, around screens, right? What relationship do we not want to have with them? And then it's a we thing. We say, this is all of our rules that we have, all the expectations, all the things that we come in with consequences for. It is just based on science and love. These things are shown to be bad for you, emotionally, physically, bad every level, cognitive development, all those things. And so therefore our job as parents is to help you learn to be healthy, safe, responsible with them so that you don't hurt yourself with these things. So we're gonna, while you're on our watch, we're definitely gonna protect you from and help you learn how to navigate through them so that when you're off our watch, you know how to do it too. Because as they get older, you know, that agreement that you make is that we want you to get more increasing freedom and independence, and we all benefit from that. But in order to have that, we need to trust the decisions that you're going to make. And so that's where we lead to that. We have communication as a family, and we build this mutual trust so that you trust to be open with us. We trust you to make good decisions. But all of this is in like a spoken agreement. You know, I mean, I really do love making those, you know, having those like, those agreements where you start with like, hey, what are your ideas about how to stay healthy, safe, responsible with screens, with drugs, with whatever?
So,
And then you get to add your own ideas as adults and say, hey, these are the guidelines we want to set, again, as a family, or what this looks like differently with parents and kids. And then it's a green live agreement that you keep revisiting, you keep celebrating the ways that everybody is like meeting it, and then revisiting and tweaking and saying, all right, what do we need to do differently here? Now you're a little older. Now you're a little older, like what do you know, are anybody thinking or feeling any differently about this?
So what I hear both of you saying is that you come together as a family unit, and this is about creating, and you said family norms. What are our family norms?
Yeah.
And this ties in with the family meetings. So the TEDx talk you did on family meetings, how you come in together, and the collaboration and curiosity that you've mentioned several times throughout this conversation.
You're coming from
How
love.
do we have buy-in from everybody, kids, teens, and adults around how this can look?
Yep.
I wish we had, you know, another 10 hours. I want everybody to give a round of applause.